In a move that could redefine governance in the Gaza Strip, the White House is expressing support for a bold plan that proposes Tony Blair take the helm of a provisional administration. According to various reports from Israeli media, this initiative suggests that the former British Prime Minister would oversee an entity designated as the Gaza International Transitional Authority, Gita, which would operate initially without direct involvement from the Palestinian Authority, PA. The outline strategy indicates that Blair would function as the leading figure in Gita, which would act as Gaza's supreme political and legal authority for a period that could extend up to 5 years. This structure draws inspiration from similar transitional governments that previously facilitated the statehood journeys of Timor-Leste and Kosovo. Reports indicate that Gita could begin its operations in El Arish, an Egyptian city close to Gaza's southern border, before eventually moving into Gaza itself, alongside a multinational force predominantly made up of Arab countries, with backing from the UN. The overarching goal of the plan is to eventually unify all Palestinian territories under the PA's governance. A significant aspect of this proposal is that it assures Palestinians they would not be displaced from their land, a concern that previously arose with past American initiatives that suggested transforming Gaza into a resort-like Gaza Riviera. If the plan receives approval, Blair would manage a secretariat consisting of up to 25 members, and lead a committee of 7 to supervise the executive entity responsible for governing the territory. However, Blair's potential involvement is likely to stir considerable debate. Following his departure from office in 2007, Blair served as a Middle East envoy until 2015, establishing connections with various leaders in the Gulf region. Yet he is met with resentment from a portion of the Palestinian population, who regard him as having hampered their aspirations for an independent state. This sentiment extends further, with many across the Middle East expressing disapproval due to his support for the controversial U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Some Western diplomats have commented that while Blair's leadership is a possibility, it is by no means a final decision, indicating that this transitional authority might exist for as little as 2 years. The announcement of this plan has arisen in a context of recent developments, most notably a separate initiative endorsed by the UN General Assembly, which called for a technocratic administration in Gaza. This New York declaration proposes that such an arrangement would operate for just 1 year, followed by a transition of power to a reformed PA after establishing a new constitution and conducting elections for a president and parliament. The vague timeline provided in the White House's roadmap for transitioning control to the PA is regarded as a potential obstacle to gaining the support of Palestinians and Arab leaders. However, the conditions mentioned might offer some reassurance to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, particularly given the presence of Blair, whom some Israelis see as a stabilizing figure. This latest proposal is perceived as a middle ground between Donald Trump's initial vision of a U.S. and Israeli takeover of Gaza and the New York Declaration, which has been supported by over 140 countries. Previous suggestions from Trump about cleaning out the Palestinian population from Gaza raised severe concerns about ethnic cleansing of its approximately 2 million residents. And under the current plan, there are guarantees that Palestinians will not be encouraged to vacate their homes. In a recent meeting held in New York, Trump discussed the broader U.S.-backed plan with several influential leaders, including the Emir of Qatar, Saudi Foreign Minister, King of Jordan, President of Indonesia, and Turkey's president. Trump characterized the meeting as productive and expressed optimism about achieving some form of agreement. French President Emmanuel Macron has been working to merge the divergent plans of Trump and the UN and seeks a resolution that satisfies both parties. However, Arab nations have made it clear that they will only contribute to a UN-led peacekeeping operation should there be a definitive political timeline for establishing a Palestinian state. Critics may argue that Blair's plan does not portray a genuine path towards statehood, but instead suggests a different form of occupation that could be viewed as more tolerable than the one currently imposed by Israel. Under this proposed framework, Gita would comprise a board made up of 7 to 10 individuals, ensuring inclusion of at least one qualified Palestinian representative. possibly from business or security sectors, as well as a senior UN official, notable international leaders with relevant executive or financial backgrounds, and a significant number of Muslim representatives. The Executive Secretariat would oversee a group of 5 commissioners tasked with managing essential governance areas in Gaza, including humanitarian issues, reconstruction, legislative affairs, security, and coordination with the PA. It is particularly noteworthy that the Humanitarian Affairs Commissioner will work closely with various humanitarian organizations, including the contentious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which many Arab nations and aid agencies insist should be dismantled. A designated commissioner for PA coordination would be responsible for ensuring that Gita's decisions align with those of the PA, aiming to consistently work toward the eventual unification of all Palestinian territories. This official would also collaborate on PA reform progress in conjunction with international donors, financial institutions, and Arab entities involved in developing Palestinian institutions. Additionally, a separate Palestinian Executive Authority, PEA, is envisioned to establish a more direct connection with the inhabitants of Gaza. It would deliver essential services via a nonpartisan, professionally managed administration, led by a CEO appointed by the Gita board. The PEA would oversee various technocratic ministries covering crucial areas such as health, education, finance, infrastructure, judicial matters, and social welfare. The PEA will receive feedback from Gaza's local municipalities, which are responsible for service delivery within their communities. Furthermore, a Gaza civil police force comprised of nationally recruited, thoroughly vetted, and nonpartisan officials will be established to maintain public order and ensure civilian safety. A judicial board, chaired by an Arab jurist, will also be formed to supervise Gaza's courts and public prosecution office, along with a property rights preservation unit, with the express purpose of ensuring that any voluntary departures by Palestinians do not strip them of their return rights or property ownership claims. At the UN General Assembly, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas firmly stated that Hamas would not have any role in governing Gaza post-conflict, a fundamental condition set by both Israel and the U.S. However, it is essential to note that Abbas and the PA currently only govern the West Bank, without any direct involvement in ceasefire negotiations or planning for Gaza's future. He did express that Gaza is a crucial component of the state of Palestine and asserted that the PA is prepared to assume full responsibilities for governance and security in that region. Abbas delivered his speech via video conference due to the revocation of his visa by the United States ahead of the UN General Assembly's 80th session. In a significant statement made at the White House, Trump emphatically rejected any notion of Israel annexing portions of the West Bank, declaring, "I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. Nope, I won't allow it. It's not going to happen."